Is my mouth easy to see right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So this will be. Does this? You think this is a okay sound? Good volume. All right, volume. I'm gonna start recording in about 10 seconds.
Alright, I got it zoomed in so you'll get it synced on here.
Great. I think the crazy thing is video, because it's just so expensive, can warp time such that if I don't use that audio track and I use this one, which I'm going to use this one anyway, it'll unsync potentially by the end of the anyway. Alright. I'll do a sync. Click. Click. Last night, a year ago, last night, a year and a half ago, over a year and a half ago, last night I dreamt of a vigilante, anti-racist goose chase, conducted from the driver's seat of a Jeep Wrangler, on gravel and dirt roads, hills and valleys, dense temperate cloud forests, cove pockets of old farmland made into campsites and festival grounds, Bonnaroo, Bethel Woods, Burning Man, Shrovetide Carnival, Holy Roman Dance Play, Baroiler, Hitler, Armageddon, a mobile two-man campaign to unravel, undermine, and directly foil the plans of a secret white supremacist cult. I was the driver and right-hand boy, yeehaw, to a heavily tattooed man, henceforth my man, of about 35 years old, with remarkable foreknowledge of the activities of this cult. My man was gaunt and pale, with short, straight brown hair and glasses. I followed his directions as we zipped around, performing peripheral tasks that, like the wingless strokes of a butterfly, the echoes of time, gently transform the evil activities of the cult into harmless and impotent hogwash. All seemed to be going well for us. Two little anti-racist vigilantes. I should say that the cult was not openly white supremacist, did not read as such to those thirsty suckers, to ranted maniac dancers who fell under its spell. Neither did it seem so to the odd local news segments, eyewitness reports, accidental coverage of inexplicable masses moving in the distant background of half-earth life. 'Twas a truly gargantuan assemblage of all the lower five of the human race, checking what you would call the demented trash of society, the desperate enterprise, sub-Appalachian, sub-smooth, feckless, dumb. It was unknown whence they streamed into those forests, sub-rural and suburban, swampy ass, unwitting escape from the morass that collapsed down from the automation of the coal mines, the monetization of Minecraft, the democratization of OnlyFans, the rusting of the belt, evanescing of the eels, interminable prattling of the lambs. specters of Walmart, ghost town fulfillment centers, tarmac, salt-flat desert, as far as the divine eye can see, Amazonian majestic land, halfway house working, court order, corporate contract, zombie Dolly Parton. The cult drew them, these half-awake masses, to it, under the pretense of what exactly? Not quite salvation. Political, social, religious, personal, economical, historical, was carnival, medieval, the way the cult and its hundreds of thousands or millions of immigrants variously and seemingly spontaneously assembled themselves into roving shanties and communes, like pilgrims, refugees, the circus, and Woodstock. These moronic flocks set up in the abandoned fields of old plantations and those sort of southern woods and hills. The sickened and sickening masses, churning, slipping, stumbling, farragoing their way into a sticky, muddy, overcrowded mess. 'Twas what would become the crucible of not quite salvation, the central gathering point of the cult. In but a handful of acres of wet and grassy lowland, ex-riverbed, man-diverted river, some abandoned properties of no one really knows. Religious feeling hung over the people, like mountain dew and Sierra mist, cloud habitat of orographic dragon. Feeling between devotion and euphoric intrigue for the cult leader, a young and unassuming man, dusty blonde, a bit tan, dense and muscular, not too attractive, also tattooed like my man, Mark Twain, Genghis Khan, Ramzan, Kadyrov, many personalities wriggled beneath his skin to form an incomprehensible, balkanized body. The cult leader of orchestra turned Hare Krishna, Dharma, so militant and knowing, an invisible machine gun slung from his shoulder, an air of confidence so thick and opaque, 'twas as if he'd been touched by something divine, maybe 50 million USD of CIA humanitarian aid. 'Twas not simply religious feeling that drove the weary cattle, unwitting jesters into the pit, but confusion, deftly executed crafts of the work performed by small bands of shock troops, orders handed down from on high in the cult, evil acts, schemes, conspiracies, all disguised by chaos and more chaos, the naturally formed geographical tract of hills and valleys, explosions in the woods, wicked growls muffled by foliage, bobcat, bear, coyote, sharp cracks bending round the mountain. Who knows who's coming round the mountain? Handiwork of the cult, falsely reported as landslides, gas and electric malfunctions, forest fires, breakdown and decay, outright aggression, attacks by a fabricated enemy of the cult, by an enemy of the people, by the state, by the federal government, protest, counter-protest, false flag, execution, rape, pillage. My man and I interceded here and there with his special foreknowledge of events and his ingenious insight into the operation of the cult, laying and diffusing traps, mixing radio signals, spooking troops, erasing and rewriting trailblazers, secret pathfinders. 'Twas rewarding vigilante work, but the difference in scale between little us and teeming them was insurmountable. Best we could do was derail these conniving woodsmen of death, save a few hundred ignorant lives, and leave the bewildered peasants stranded in the woods, neither led nor driven, cut off from what seemed increasingly to me to be a slow, looming black cloud of death on the horizon. only the leadership of the cult, and an elite core of its membership, those secret commando squadrons, and, of course, inexplicably, my man knew the true meaning of the cult, that it was not populist, communist, anarchist, that it was a depopulationist, neo-Nazi death cult. I had this realization as my man directed me to our next point of operation, the grand final meeting place of the cult. Into the mouth and belly of the beast! As we made our way there, he explains it. He was a regressor. My man had lived his past life as the leader of the cult. The cult leader in our current timeline was his little brother. Upon my man's death in his former life, he returned to his late adolescence 15 years before the events now at hand, the origin of our current timeline. He had a revelation, left the secret cult, chased by assassins, somehow escaped, faked his death, hid his presence, took on a new identity, devoted his life to foiling the long-held plans of the cult. Those events have so far laid out. Meanwhile, in my man's absence from the cult, his little brother, that aforementioned calm, sound the horn, little brother, had taken up his mantle, inherited the position of leader, carried out those very long-held plans with the assistance of an inner circle of devoted cultists. The former leader, my man, had plenty of sympathy for his younger brother, the current leader, with whom my man had had a close and loving relationship in both previous and current lives. That is, before my man committed a total betrayal of everyone and everything he knew, by which he cast his little brother into an abyss of total crisis. The former leader, my man, in leaving, also left his young and nubile neo-Nazi fiancée deep in the clutches of the cult. The girl subsequently lost, became a lunatic, her ravings in the months before she knifed herself to death, constituting my man's little brother's only remaining link to his older brother, the former leader, my man, his idol, further confusing, traumatizing, and ultimately radicalizing little brother, current leader of the cult, beyond even the former limits of cultish eschatological attachments. He, my man, explained all this to me as he had me drive him into the heart of the muddy slums, the ultimate campsite trap, into which the millions of toothless roofs had fallen unbeknownst to them. He told me to let him out and speed off, with or without him, when the cult signal sounded, as it was sure to sound, momentarily. So I let him out and turned the car around on the sunken mud path, and he, my man, went down to the marshy cove. Throngs of people started doing or saying something, then a commotion, ripples of agitation running through the rabbit. I lost precise sight and sound of him. I could only imagine that he was making such a stir by tapping into that aforementioned misty mountain dew, clouded incantation, polar field of suggestion hanging over the place. He counter-governed the social spell in a way only the true regress for the leader of the cult could. But while the cult suppositions begged, pleaded, seduced, intruded, my man invoked instead the principle of repulsion, casting terror and fear, flee and scatter. Away. This because I finally realized precisely this pitiful chorus of goat-like men. Were there any women? Were there any women at all? This pitiful chorus of goat-like men, having been gradually brought under the dark sky of the cult's spell, was to be put into a collective trance and executed en masse by the shock troops of the cult, untouchable undesirables that they were. The cult would cleanse the earth of them, hundreds of thousands of them, millions in inestimable view. Chaos, chaos, howling lurch of noise careen round the mountain, round the mountain. Erupted and I was brought back to the current seas. That cultish signal, a sinister horn, sounded from on high, slithering ominously through the orographic mist, that uncaring dragon. I realized I was meant to leave without my man. My path was covered with wailing, screaming peasants, headless chickens, dumb pigs, howling dogs, animals in human dress, rolling in the mud, in agony and ecstasy. It was not easy to leave without putting some of these creatures beneath the fat treads of the giant. I saw flashes in my rear and side view mirrors, a road heat mirage, burning images, already memories, piercing through the jubilating horde. The current leader and his posse appearing from some Abrahamic tent in a raised clearing. Where were they? By what optic geometry did these images reach me? I had completely lost track of my man, the former leader. The air itself, vision, everything, vibrated impossibly as I alone retraced our path out of the fairgrounds of horror and death, back to the cool, quiet, cloud forest road. We, my man and I, had coming up.